So we're going to be talking today about Silver Viper Minerals. It was an IPO that we did as a group at the end of 2017. We're exploring for gold and silver on the eastern side of Sonora in Mexico. We recently made a discovery in our first phase of drilling, and our phase 2 program has been completely focused on following up on that discovery. There will be some forward-looking statements in the presentation today. One of the big advantages of our group is that Silver Viper is a member of the Belcara Management Group, and it's important to note and go over what those advantages are, and that it allows us to spare G&A costs across 3 public companies at the moment. We have 4 senior geologists with over 150 years experience in the industry, and that gives a big advantage over a lot of our peers who can only afford to have 1 geologist on staff, and we have 4 that can look at every single one of the projects across the different Belcara Group companies. It allows that just sharing of wealth and experience and really getting us dialed in on what we're dealing with on any individual project. Combined with that, we've got Gary, myself, and Alex to kind of manage the capital market side of things. So we're a lean group, but it's important that we end up spending the majority of our money in the ground where it belongs. As far as the highlights of why you should invest, I don't want to spend too much time on this slide because we're going to dive into these points further, but when you're looking at an early stage exploration project, you want to see the asset, you want to see the team, you want to see a strong shareholder structure. We're checking off all those different boxes. We're going to be working towards a maiden resource that we're planning on delivering around Q3 of this year. This project was a bit special in that it had 50,000+ meters of drilling focused on one core area of the project in the past, and that was done by Mine Finders and Pan American Silver. Mine Finders was bought by Pan Am in 2013. Pan Am, kind of shelved the project because metals prices were plummeting. And so we were approached and got involved in this project in 2018 when the group that owned the internal claims was saying, can you come help us? We've got this, we want to bring this project back together. And so we went and looked at it, saw that there was a lot of exploration potential and discovery potential on the project, and as well as these fantastic historic results, and decided that it was definitely something worth pursuing. As far as our share structure concerned, again, because of the Belcara Group and the track record that our company has, we've, for a company our size of around 25 million market cap, we've got institutional support that you don't see in a lot of companies at this early stage. We did our first financing last year in September. It was oversubscribed. It was done very quickly. We turned back, additional a couple $1 million at least in capital. But it was important to us. We went looking for $3 million. We hard capped it at $4 million because we didn't want to dilute any further at the current prices. Some of the new institutions that participated on that financing were Donald Smith and Company, Commodity Capital, and the Silver Fund at Sprott Asset Management. Red Cloud initiated coverage on us in December. Just for your information, they have an 80-cent target on the company, and we're currently trading at around 35 cents. The project's located about 220 kilometers east of Hermosillo along a paved highway that takes you to the town of Nacori Chico. From there, we're about a 30-minute drive along a well-kept gravel and dirt road right to camp. That town of Nacori Chico is important because we get a lot of our, our employment, our staff comes from the local community in which we're supporting. We have a very good relation with the local community. In this part of Mexico, we're not dealing with ejido, we're dealing with local ranchers, but we have land access agreements in place across the entire project. We do what we can to help out in the community. We provide medical supplies, school supplies, athletic gear, anything we can to try and help that local community out. When we're talking about the claim situation, we'll reference the Pan American claims, which we own 100% of now, and that's what you see in red. And then when we talk about the internal claim group, that's what's in blue, and that's where all the work has been done. Our current discovery is taking us to the northern boundary of those internal claims. You can see the option agreement that we have in place. We gave Pan American a 2% NSR that gave us access to all of the data, all of the core from the historic drilling. And then we cut a very heavily back-end loaded deal on those internal claims that, again, lets us see the majority of the money go into the ground before we have to make that ultimate decision of making that $2.5 million payment in June 2023. Of note, we can pay half of that as well in shares. This is just an idea of what the regional geology is looking like on the project. You can see kind of the railroad track looking things on the left image there. Those are the large regional faults that run for tens of Ks. What our system tends to do, it tends to run in parallel to that, and what you see on surface is these silicified dikes that run, again, for tens of kilometers parallel to those regional controlling faults, and we're seeing mineralization happen adjacent and into those silicified dikes. But it's nice because it shows us the potential and how much room we have for this project to continue to grow, because you can see these dikes running for kilometers and kilometers, and you sample them and you're seeing anomalous and you know, fairly good rock chip sampling on the surface of these things. So this does have the potential to be a model of something that one of the big mining companies is going to be interested in, and that's what we're looking for. We get involved with a project, we want to see the potential for it to grow to at least 1 million ounces gold or 100 million ounce silver equivalent, and we certainly see the potential for that on this project. This just summarizes the historic work that was done by mine finders in Pan American. Again, we referenced 188 holes for over 50,000 meters of drilling. What was interesting about that was mine finders only made the first 50 of the 188 holes public. After that, when Pan American bought them, they deemed it not material to release results anymore. They didn't have to give any of the data to the local claim holders. So when we got involved, we got access to that full database of 188 holes, saw that the results were good right up until the end, and that wasn't the reason that they had walked away. It was just that metals prices had fallen. Pan American doesn't do grassroots work. And then on top of that, we saw that it was focused again on one just small portion of those internal claims, and that we had this very broad land package with lots of potential moving forward. There are some old underground workings in that historic area. They're not very deep or long, but it gives you an idea of kind of the stockwork veining and the widths and what you're seeing underground there. Where we made our discovery at El Ruby, which sits about 5 kilometers to the north of that historic zone, it's starting to look better. You're seeing higher grades than you saw in the historic work. You're seeing more action in the rock. There's more events, more fluids, and different events happening. So we're getting pretty excited about what we're seeing at El Ruby. This is just, I mean, it's pretty small print, but you can see some of the grades that we saw in that historic work that was done. I mean, anytime you're talking about multi-kilogram silver, and some of it, you know, seeing almost 900 grams over 23 meters, there were some nice thicknesses with some very excellent grade. And that's what originally drew us to the project, as well as the exploration potential. Yeah, we started talking about how we're working towards a maiden resource. This is just preliminary wireframes that have been set up. Again, the bulk of that resource will probably come from that historic area, but as we're expanding El Ruby, there will be definitely a portion of the resource that'll be focused at El Ruby. We've done 20 holes now into El Ruby. We've reported 10. We've just added a second rig that's going to be targeting some other new anomalies around that same area of the project that have potential for additional discoveries. So it's a developing story, but it's also a very exciting story as we go through it. We referenced the discovery at El Ruby. One of the things that we've actually started to see more and more in drill holes now is visible gold. This image down in the lower right is through a microscope showing you kind of what the gold looks like in the rock. That's fairly rare in Mexico. We don't often get a lot of visible gold in Mexico. It's a country certainly known more for silver. But even in Sonora, where it's the largest gold producing state in Mexico, a lot of it is lower grade. You don't see the high grades where we've seen samples now, half-meter samples averaging over, up to 200 grams gold with over kilograms silver. Some pretty spectacular world-class results. We just put out our latest release 2 days ago, and we had, we were starting to see some wider thicknesses where we're talking about, 3 grams of, over 3,000 grams silver equivalent in some of those holes in amongst, an 8-meter broader zone that's averaging over a kilogram again of average grade. But you're seeing those kicks along with the gold of, seeing 22 grams, 30 grams gold associated with kilogram plus silver, and that's why the market's been getting excited about our story, and why as a team we're trying to be, cautiously reserved and not get ahead of ourselves. But these aren't grades you typically see in Mexico, and this, we're 100% conversion rate of hitting economic and high grade mineralization in every hole at El Ruby. Yeah, I know, sorry, the question in the last talk came up about ESG and how you're trying to remain, environmentally responsible. We used all man portable rigs here, so it's important you can see kind of what the pads look like. Those boards are all recycled and used on the next pad. Once we're done with the pad, you kind of you rake it up, you can throw some grass seed down. Within a couple weeks, you can't even tell that there was ever a drill hole in it. We're fully permitted to drill all over the entire property through SEMERNAT. And again, we've got all the local support of the communities. We've got water year-round, and Mexico has also just recently put in a major power corridor right through the middle of the project to connect the town of Nacori Chico to the next town down the road of Mesa Tres Rios. So while we are rather remote in the mountains in a way, we're also have a lot of the infrastructure that we look for when it comes time to build this into a mine. After we made our discovery at the end of 2018, we realized that we had to get caught up in this northern part of the project that had never been sampled before. You can see down with that gold star where we made our discovery at El Ruby. For scale, these boxes in here are 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers, so we're still talking about a very large area of land. Throughout 2019, we ran this large soil geochem sampling program and have identified 4 major new anomalies that we're going to, like I said, that second rig is going to be following up on, trying to make a new discovery. It just started turning, actually, that second rig, and it's starting at Macho Libre, which sits about 1 kilometer south from the El Ruby discovery. Again, those silicified dikes line up exactly with the discovery, so we're highly hopeful that there's going to be an initial discovery made rather quickly there. The other rig is going to continue to systematically step out 50 meters at a time, along strike, and stepping back, adding the depth component, but El Ruby is still open along strike and at depth. This is focused in on our drilling at El Ruby. You can see, again, that examples of that systematic stepping out and how we're approaching it. And you can also see the continuity reflected by those, as you get pink and red colors, those are the highest grade mineralization. That just shows the results that have been released to date. Like I said, again, we've extended this probably another 100 to 150 meters to the north already, just on visuals and confirmation that we're still in the zone. So you're going to see us kind of every 3 weeks releasing 3 to 5 holes at a time as the results come in. But again, it's holding together very well. We referenced the silicified dikes. This is Macho Libre, where that drill just started working. These are the dikes that we can see running for tens of kilometers. Again, mineralization's happening adjacent to that. When I was with the geologist, when he did the little surface sample on that one on the left, that came back over 3 grams gold. What was important about that was in the historic area, a lot of the stuff at surface ran fairly dead. You could see the structure, but you weren't seeing high grade or virtually any mineralization. It wasn't until they got to a favorable horizon that they started seeing the higher and better grades and widths. So to start seeing it at surface in our geochem and on the rock chip sampling, again, it seems like everything's getting better the further north you move on this project. This is in here just to, again, speak to the amount of activity that's happening on the project in this area. This is another about 5 kilometers north from where the discovery was at El Ruby. This is in the same structural corridor that you can see represented, but you're in a 3 kilometer by 3 kilometer zone of alteration where there's a blowout. This isn't our focus. We're quietly picking away at this. What this looks like is that it's a large porphyry-style target. It is very interesting. We put a couple of shallow holes into it in our phase 1. It looks like we're high in the pyrite halo of a porphyry. We're seeing some of those other signature elements that you expect of the porphyry, moly and copper and some other things. So we're going to quietly work away. There's been a geophysics program done, but again, our main focus is going to be on the high-grade veining at this point. We're just starting our initial metallurgical work. We did send some stuff to the lab at the University of Hermosillo. So far, we don't expect any problems. It looks like our host mineralization, you're seeing argentite and acanthite, gold and silver alloyed as electrum, exactly what you would expect in your traditional low sulfidation Mexican system. Obviously, we're going to go ahead and keep doing our metallurgical work, but again, we don't expect any issues. Again, we referenced some of the visible gold, and what you can see some pretty pictures down there in the bottom. The one in the middle is from, that's again in a stockwork zone, so we didn't, there's veining going every which direction in that area in the core, but to see that amount of visible gold, again, is very rare in Mexico. The other one is, I think, from one of the holes we just released as well, and you're seeing chalcopyrite, pyrite, and as well as visible gold in that core. So it's getting us very excited, because again, we don't see it a lot in Mexico. And then for it to be associated with kilogram plus silver is fantastic. In summary, it's a high quality asset. We've got a new discovery. We're looking to make more discoveries. We're in, the top gold producing state in Mexico. It's a very friendly jurisdiction. We have a management and technical team with a history of success, lots of blue sky potential, strong shareholder support, and like I said, we did our financing in September, so we've got a very strong treasury still. With that, I thank you for your time and open up for questions, and thanks for attending.